So I said Shema, and I asked, I said, I want to live. And I want her to live. And this is why, and this is what I'm going to do with my life. And I said, okay, now I'm ready. And she opens the door, and I walk in, and I freaked out, I'm telling you. I don't know what I was expecting, but it wasn't this, all right? I thought there'd be a doctor, a nurse, an anesthesiologist, right? There must have been 35 people in this room, okay? It's huge, and it's cold to keep it sterile, and there's these convex mirrors, and everybody's running around surgical guards and all these machines, and there's this flat steel table with straps that looks like you should do an autopsy on it, and they want me on that table, okay? And I froze. And I said to myself, Lori, what are you doing? And I closed my eyes and I said to myself, just do it, just do it. And I walked over and I lay down on the table, and I'm telling you, the next thing I knew I was waking up in recovery. I have no memory whatsoever of anything whatsoever. So Rebecca apparently was in recovery with me, and I have like vague memories of it. And she said the first thing when I came to, the first person I asked for was for her. I said, is she okay? Is she okay? But she was still in surgery. And after the surgery, when they brought her into recovery, the first person she asked for was me. Is Lori okay? Dr. Greenstein came and saw me, and he said to me in recovery, he goes, Lori, you have a great kidney. She's fishing up a storm. It's unbelievable. It's miraculous. It's like a car that doesn't work, and you take a part from another car, and you put it in that car, and it goes. There's something called your creatinine level that they measure. It's a measure of how your kidney's functioning. You want a low number. 10 means your kidneys are in failure and you're on dialysis. She was a 9 going into the surgery. In 24 hours with my kidney, she was a 1.4. It's amazing. So they brought us both up to the ward afterwards. And I'll tell you, the first 2 or 3 days were not fun, okay? I have to tell you though, out of 5 children, I had 4 cesareans. I call this my kidney vacation. You know, you have cesarean, they cut you open, they take out your guts, they take out the baby, they put your guts, they give you a newborn baby to take care of 24/7, all right? So this one is they do the whole same thing, but then they take care of you, you have nobody to take care of. So it's like, hey, this is not so bad. So the first 2 or 3 days though were not fun. I had a bad reaction to the anesthetic, and it was hard for them to get the pain and the nausea under control. It was not fun. But during that time, her siblings, her sisters were coming in to visit me, and their spouses, and they brought me these like thank you, drawings from the grandchildren, and Rebecca actually taped one up that said thank you with hearts on it on the wall. And one time in the middle of the night, I woke up like, very uncomfortable, and I was like, what am I doing? Why did I do this? And then I saw that picture, and it's like, then I knew why I was doing it. So after 3 days, when they said, well, now you got to get up and get better, so I took my little pole and I shuffled down the hall to visit her. And she said to me, she goes, Lori, I don't know how to explain to you how I feel about you, but it was like I was standing on a road and a truck was hurtling at me full force, and you stepped between me and the truck and you stopped the truck. So when I tell people this is the greatest experience of my life, some people are actually negative about it. They're like, what? Greater than having children? And I said, yes, really. Well, first of all, when you have a baby, it's a little bit of a selfish decision. I want a baby. Here's my baby. See my baby? So this was the greatest. You quickly learn, like, you're not in it, but you're not in it for what they're going to do for you. My rabbi says, if you're in it for what they'll do for you, get an English butler. They're cheaper. Okay? But the initial desire is really a selfish kind of thing. This is what I want. So this was the greatest and purest opportunity that Hashem ever gave me to just give. To just give for the purest giving. And as Rav Dessler teaches us, that it's not I love you so I give to you, it's the more I give to you, the more I love you. And the pleasure of just being a giver is an unbelievable pleasure. Really. What else did I learn? Why was it one of the greatest experiences of my life? I have to tell you that a lot of people were very critical of me. I got a lot of criticism over this, but people were critical of me, like, okay, I can understand you gave it to give it to somebody you know, somebody like a spouse or a parent or a child, but to give it to a stranger, and I said, like, I have to tell you, it was so much easier for me to give to somebody I don't know. Why? Imagine there's somebody in my neighborhood. There's actually somebody I know, like who I carpool with. Her name is Ruth. And imagine, God forbid, Ruth needs a kidney. And I say to her, well, take my kidney. And I give her my kidney. Now it's 6 months later. And I'm flying to LA to speak. And I call up Ruth and go, Ruth, can you cover my carpool this week? I have to go to LA to speak. She goes, actually, I have a busy week. I can't cover your carpool. What am I thinking? I gave you my kidney. You can't cover my carpool? Okay? It creates this unbelievably imbalanced relationship, all right? Like somebody owes me. I don't like imbalanced relationships. I don't want somebody to feel they owe me. Take my kidney, be healthy, have a good life, because it's a hate. Right? You don't owe me anything. So I hung out at home for a while, and 4 weeks later I was speaking in Houston. 6 weeks later, as if it never happened. And there's certain things I have to remember. I have one kidney. Don't join the NFL, don't go bungee jumping, all right? Stay hydrated. But otherwise, really, she has to be on immunosuppressive drugs for the rest of her life, and she has to be monitored. But Baruch Hashem, she's doing great. She's fantastic. She can eat whatever she wants. She has a happy, healthy life. The pleasure, if you only knew the pleasure. Time went by, and I was invited to her daughter's wedding. And of course, I traveled to Monsey for the wedding. The pleasure of seeing her dance with her daughter at her wedding that I had, it's like no amount of money could you ever offer me to trade for that. When they were leaving the chuppah, this woman broke away from everyone and came into the crowd to hug me. So this all happened in December, and the next Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, rolls around. And at my house, I'm sure at your house too, it's crazy. Imagine a house where it's even crazier, where we have so many beds in our house, where so many people sleep over. We have one room called the dorm room, like it was a family room. We took out all the furniture, we put in beds and bunk beds, and we have called Shabbatones and all these things that we do. So every bed was taken, and people were coming in. I'm speaking to parent classes, and I'm cooking for all these people, and it was crazy. And so at one point, and the phone was ringing. I wasn't even like answering because I couldn't get everything done. And finally, the phone rings, and I see that it's her. And I answer it. I go, hi. And she calls me regularly. We come talk like at least once a week, sometimes twice a week. And she calls, and I'm like, hi, I'm so glad you called. Good yom tov. How are you feeling? She goes, Lori, I'm calling to thank you for my life. Last Rosh Hashanah, I was davening for my life. What was the greatest thing I learned from this? You know, people make a big deal of the fact that I did this. But what's really greater? What I did for this woman, or what I did for Rebecca? For this woman, I gave her life in this world. But for Rebecca, a girl who is leading a very, very non-Jewish life, who is now married, living in Toronto, expecting her first baby, she got eternity. There are times, it made what I do for a living, okay? The work that I do in Kiruv, it exponentially, the impact that I feel and the intensity of wanting to do it so much more. There are some times I'm at a function or I'm at the grocery store, and you meet somebody, they're Jewish and they're secular, you know, and they give you their card, and you think like, oh, I'm going to invite them. And like you lose their card, or you feel uncomfortable later, like to invite them, embarrassed or whatever. If you knew you were going to save their life, would you lose their card? Would you be embarrassed to invite them? So somebody told me before I went for the surgery, somebody came up to me at a function, they go, Lori, I heard that you're going to give your kidney to a woman who you've never met before. Is this true? And I said, yes, it actually is. She goes, Lori, because of what you're doing, I'm not going to give somebody my kidney, but I am going to be more of a giver. Can I tell you, they have this Sukkot program. Sukkot is the greatest Kiruv holiday ever. Why? Because a lot of times it's hard on Shabbos and Yom Tov and driving and all the rest. It's not so easy. But here you have Chol Hamoed, and this year it's a big Chol Hamoed. And these people, usually they're doing something for Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and some sort of Seder, their version of a Seder. But can I tell you, they don't have a sukkah. And they really are, like Sippi's saying, is wondering, what's going on in there? That hut with the lights and the singing. They love it. They love sukkahs. They love to come. They love to come with their kids. They love it. When you invite somebody into your sukkah, this sukkah, and I hope you sign up for it, and I hope you sign up for the Kiruv training seminar. And people have a lot of fears and misconceptions about Kiruv. And if you just have basic tools and information, you could give people eternity. Eternity. Well, Tzipi, you're right. I got to come to Borough Park after all. Thank you.